So we are airborne right now on the crane I just built. Right there. Badass. Let's take a look at it, because I thought there'd be some kind of bowing in the top here under the load. But that beam across the top is pretty straight. I'm pretty proud of myself. Pretty happy with my project. Let me get this back down before I'm walking around talking to you guys about this whole thing. So I'm going to pause the video real quick and lower the car back down on the ground so I can get around and show you what I'm doing. Actually, this might be, well, it's up here. Show you guys how I have this rigged. So I got 2 D-rings on the toe points right there. 6,400-pound straps, 2 of them, one each on each toe point, to a 2-ton lift chain hoist on a 2-ton roller trolley on the custom-built roller trolley track. So yeah, I'm gonna put this back down and we'll talk about the crane. Alright, we're back. So, some things I did since the last video. I reinforced these panels right here by putting these dividers on the inside. Obviously I'm not very perfect with them, but no wood is perfect, so put these little caps on the top. I'm not too happy with them. They're kind of small and I need a better way of attachment than a couple nails, because these are going to pop off, or at least use longer nails. But this is nice though, because I have these dividers in here. I can use it for storage for my straps. Nothing's in that one. I got a little dead blow hammer, some of these guys, whatever they're called, quick links, available Harbor Freight for pretty cheap. I think they were like $3.50 for all 3 of those. That's pretty fantastic. Let's see what I got over in this one. Nothing in that one, nothing in those. I thought about putting things like these pry bars in these longer ones. The chain hoist fits perfectly in there. I just load my chains in like this, roll the trolley over, load the chains in, disconnect the hoist from right there, lower the chains in slowly, and then the hoist sits right on top of it perfectly. And then, you know, if I put one strap in each of the other taller units there, I can put all my smaller stuff in the smaller, shorter compartments. I haven't reinforced this yet. I'm still debating on what I'm going to do. I don't necessarily want to put something straight in the middle like I have with the other ones. I want to run a bar through here so that I have like a sideways pick point on both of these, so that I can stabilize the load in the center, move it left and right on this beam on the track and control it. Say for instance, if I'm putting an engine in, it'd be nice to have 2 little chain falls attached over there to the same pick point to move it back and forth. So let's take a look at the rail that I built. So here's the full Monty, if you will. I welded this up right on the board. If I ever want to take this off, tough luck, it's not coming off. It's welded all the way around. I talked about this in the last video. You guys didn't really get to see it. I said that I was going to weld it up. Kind of pressed for time, so you guys didn't really get to see that, but this is the final product. That's what really matters, and I'm going to talk about how I did it. So I did decide to go with these bolts, just in case for now. I talked about in the last video how I was concerned that these might rip out the wood. Obviously they don't. Eventually though, they'll probably cause a stress crack in the piece of wood along here, so I might go back again with some more of this material and half split each one of these and make another one, just to be extra safe. And these will be here for a backup in case these welds fail, because I'm a new welder. I mean, what else is there to say? I'm a new welder. I'm not certified. I don't know what I'm doing. But I think these are pretty quality welds. They look pretty ugly. Not as ugly as some things that I've seen on production, things you can buy in the store. But they do hold, apparently. Who knows for how long? Hopefully they don't develop any cracks and fail. But that's why I use general good ideas. So these are the main supports for this rail, and these just back it up. Wanted the distribution of weight on the beam to be more even, so the weight that's felt on this point gets spread out along this whole rail. This whole rail also acts as anti-compression force on the top to prevent bowing. And then obviously if you're pulling down and extended from your point that you're connected to, this whole mechanism is going to feel an outward force like this. So I welded these on the top to make sure that these two pieces stay in place and don't spread and fall off. Is it really necessary? Probably not if I'm welding everything all stiff like this, but just to be safe and make sure that it's extra good, did that. Let's talk about this trolley. So this trolley, its maximum spread on the rail says 4 or to 8 inch I-beam. This is more than 8 inches, and I'm not happy about that. If you do it like this, it's going to be kind of difficult to get 8 inches if you use one of these beams. The thing that I did learn in building this crane was that the height of your beam is more important than the width of your beam. So if I had to do this all over again, instead of going with the 6x6, I would go with like two 2x12s or something, that are much higher. It would be thinner, but much higher. And I would try to match this beam. These beams are really meant to take force this way and not how I have them built, like this. They can. This beam safely, by itself, naked, will hold 2,700 pounds. And that is more than enough to lift the front end of a vehicle, even with the engine in. Which is another point that I wanted to make. So I'm going to be lifting this vehicle without the engine and transmission and the whole front end, the axles and the wheels are all going to be left behind on the ground. So it's going to be much lighter, but to get it off of the stands instead of going underneath and jacking it up, which is kind of scary because this floor is sloped this way, to get those the wheel ramps out of there, I was like, oh, I might as well test it, So I lifted it up off the ramps and took the ramps out. So yeah, more about this trolley. So they say to leave an 1/8 of an inch of clearance on each side of these wheels, so you don't have any binding. That way, if your load is rolling, it doesn't stop and automatically, put some weird sideways force on your crane that isn't designed for. This is designed for it. I've pretty much over-engineered this thing. I created a Facebook group called the Council of Nerds, which is a couple members of my closer friends that are really into this stuff, really into DIY engineering. They're nuclear engineers, mechanical engineers, technical, electrical engineers, stuff like that. So yeah, I was consulting them to make sure, back me up on what is good and what isn't good. So with this spread here, this is my concern, this piece. This piece is rated from the company, Harbor Freight specifically, at 2 tons. That's 4,000 pounds. And you're supposed to use these washers to space it. You move them to the outside if you're, trying to bring it in. I maxed it out. All of the washers are on the inside. I should have some washers on the outside, and you can see the angle right there. It's probably not the best idea. And in that case, I'm spreading this bar further than it's designed to go. I do have more than 2 threads exposed before this pin goes in. I have to stretch that out. It's just a cotter pin that goes through the hole, keeps this castle nut in place from spinning off. So because it's a castle nut and there's that pin in there, I'm not worried about it coming off. But I do have more than 2 threads. The force is this way and not pulling that way, so I'm not worried about this. possibly shearing off the threads or anything like that, and being a safety issue. But the one thing that I would be concerned with is that the bar in here that this pulls on is spread further than it's designed to. Now, how much further is it spread than it's designed to? Like I said, maximum it's recommended for an 8-inch beam, I-beam. My track goes to 8.5 inches, I believe. Something like that. It's close to 8.5 inches. So it's only a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch on each side further than it's supposed to, which is how I was able, to get it so close. And it does work. It rolls great. Back and forth. It's under load right now a little bit because it's still strapped down. Car's back down on the ground, but there's slack, or I wouldn't be able to do this. But it rolls nice. There's no biting, no issues. I thought there might be. I was pleasantly surprised. Again, this might not be the best idea for you to be building a crane unless you absolutely know what you're talking about, what you're doing. Have an engineering mindset. Take notes. You got to research your materials, know all kinds of things, know a lot about physics and forces and vectors and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I'm really into this kind of stuff. It's I wanted to do this since I was, real young, building forts out in the woods. I wanted to be a mechanical engineer doing this kind of stuff, building things. Really, I don't know if there's a market for this kind of stuff. There probably is. I don't have that job, so it's fine. I'd rather use it for myself. What else is there to say? I mean, I lifted the car, and that's way more than I needed it to do with the engine in there. So the next step is going to be, I'm going to have to lift it back up. We're going to support it underneath. The sunlight's in the way. We're going to support it underneath, put some stands in here to support the engine and the axles and whatnot so that it doesn't fall. And then we disconnect all that. This is already connected, ready to go. Once the engine is free, lift the vehicle up on the rollers. I'm probably going to have to use my truck out there to tow this back out off of the engine, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to push it. I might, if I can push it, I'll push it, but probably have to tow it. In which case, I'll have to sturdy up these, probably tie them up to the vehicle somehow so that they don't move and that they follow the vehicle exactly straight, the way that it's, strapped on there, the way that it's tied up and sitting. But once that happens, we're going to bring the vehicle. I thought about just taking it up off of the engine and sitting it down right here, but then that leaves my door open, and I don't want to leave my door open, so I might back it up all the way out here into the lot and drop it right outside the door. And then I'll have all kinds of space to work in here, because I'm going to need to take this crane and put that over the engine and remove the engine and then get it on my stand that I just bought. Also got a Harbor Freight. I'm pretty pleased with this thing. I'll have to do a review about it. I went ahead and got the big one, the 1 ton right there. My thought is if you buy the biggest, heaviest duty one, you'll never need any other, engine hoist. You'll never be like, oh, that engine's too big for my engine hoist. I need a bigger engine hoist. Then you have to sell your old one and you have to go buy a new one, and you're never going to make out on the money. So I just went ahead and got the biggest one. I got this tray cart with the most shelf space that I possibly could. They have a 2-shelf model. I don't know if I would buy that. This metal's kind of cheap and flimsy. I might go ahead and reinforce the bottom with like plywood or something so that I'm not worried about this denting and just crunching like a beer can. So this is going to be the organizer for my engine parts in the car. So this one channel that I found called Schrodinger's Cat, or Schrodinger's Cat, that's the one. He is an excellent mechanic, very thorough, and I'm glad I watched his channel about rebuilding engines and removing them. There's an order everything you take off of there has to, you know, go in a labeled box in sequence. And all of the parts you take out of your engine has to go in a tray in the same orientation that they came out of the engine. You have to take pictures, you have to label cables and hoses. It's crazy. So I wanted the maximum amount of shelf space so that I have all of that space to organize it. I'll probably build out of wood some engine parts organizers. Once I start pulling them, I'll probably pull one cylinder worth of stuff and then figure out the measurements and cut holes in the wood, and you know, have it so the rods and the pistons all go in the same place they're supposed to go. So I keep this well organized because I don't know how long they're going to be out of this engine. This thing is going to take probably a good while, but I'm trying to do a rebuild, so I learned how to do it. You know, God told me, be a good steward over the things that you are given, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I could have just made this thing ran enough that it's not knocking, changed one bearing out or two bearings, you know, from the bottom, and then taken it to a dealership and passed it off on them. I'm not that type of person. You know, it's morally wrong to do something like that, so I'm not going to do that. Even though they deserve everything they get, I'm not going to do that because they're going to sell it like a piece of crap that it is to somebody else. So I'm going to make this thing not be a piece of crap, and I'm going to have essentially a brand new vehicle when I'm done. So I guess that's it for this video. I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you guys have an outstanding day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm out.